I'm going to hand you over to the Community Radio Awards now, so show your appreciation. Martin Steers, please.
I think I've got the hardest job because I'm coming after lunch and it's a lovely sunny day, so everyone's probably a bit like they need their afternoon nap, so hopefully I'll try and keep the energy going. It's a presentation in two parts, because you've got me for about 10 minutes, and then we've got Mark, who's going to talk about, who's our 2017 Mail Gold, to talk about putting an entry together. So, I'm Martin. If you don't know me, I'm the founder and chair of the Community Radio Awards. We were founded in 2016, our first awards. Seems a very long time ago. I've been talking about the Community Radio Awards for about 6 or 7 years, and it took us a couple of years to get going. We, as an organisation, we're independent. We're an independent organisation. We're currently just a standard not-for-profit, but we are looking at applying to become a charity. And we have, I say the trustees like that because they're not fully constituted trustees, but we have 4 core people that sort of help govern us, including me as chair. But then we also had an advisory panel that we tap up every now and again if we're trying to do something random or we want some sense checking. And the advisory panel is made up of a much broader group of people in the radio sector, community, commercial, BBC, and say, you know, does this make sense? So, why have Community Radio Awards? The key principles is to celebrate the sector and everyone involved, to promote community radio, and to develop the sector and share best practice. So in reality, we have an amazing event, the actual awards ceremony, which has grown year on year. Our first year we had 100, last year we had 150, and this year we had sort of over 200 in Sheffield. And we've always sort of linked it the evening of the CMA's Community Media Conference, so people come out and there's multiple reasons for them to sort of head out and come to one, come to the other, or sort of come to both. To promote the sector, so we encourage stations to, like people were saying, you know, getting nominated or winning an award is a great opportunity to go back to your community, go back to your stakeholders, your council, your mayor, your MP, and your local newspapers and press, and really celebrate and use it as an opportunity to celebrate what you're doing that's different, that's unique, that's serving your community. And hopefully that will pay dividends in terms of strengthening your station, strengthening your team, coming together, celebrating who you are, what you are. Hopefully it will lead to more awareness for when you're putting in funding bids, more awareness when you're knocking on doors trying to get advertising, and more support from councils and more listeners and all this sort of thing. I'll slow down a bit, so I didn't mean that energetic. And then this is just some of the examples. What I will say, however, is if you have a station that's entered and you've got some press, do let us know, because I was trying to put some images up here, and actually I don't have a massive amount of the press that has been generated because of it. So if you are generating press, particularly newspaper stuff, please scan it, take a photo and send it to us, because we really want to try and measure the impact in that sense. To develop the sector and share best practice. So we want to be doing more events like this and using the insight that we have learned from all these awards entries and picking out the best thing, picking out the things that other stations are doing and sharing it. We have an innovation category, and I had 3 stations last year, or this year, enter a lottery, all saying we're the only community radio station in the country that runs a lottery. And I go, well, you're not, but we should be better at sharing these great projects and how other stations can learn from them. So, and I haven't done it yet for this year because it's on my massive to-do list, but all the gold material, so the audio entries, the written entries, all the gold material does end up on our website, and we tweet about it and share it on social media and the Facebook group and stuff, because we want other stations to go and see what the stations and presenters that got gold, what they did to achieve that gold, what the judges saw in that, to steal it, to find out the best ideas and use them. The other way we develop it is the feedback. We ask all our judges, and I apologise now on the quality of the feedback, because it's not always the best thing, because we've got volunteer judges and I can't be too demanding of them, because I'm already demanding of how much I ask them to judge, and I push them quite hard on that. But we ask all the judges to put in notes of feedback on the entries, and then we collate that together in a massive email list of hundreds and hundreds of emails, and we send them all out. This year we actually sent them out, I think it was a week or 2 after the awards. It normally takes me about 4 months. It only took me a couple of weeks, which is why that's been done and this hasn't been done, because I prioritised that. And there's a reason why I've prioritised this, because this is the feedback on how your entries, what you do, and the way, or not so much what you do, but how you present it and how you talk about it could be strengthened. And there is a point to why I try to get it out early, and I'll say that in a second. But why enter? So here's a couple of quotes from previous goals, why you should enter. So this was an individual award here. They used it, the award, as a reason to send their CV out, to send their demo out, to put on the demo, put on their CV and demo. They're an award-winning presenter that other stations potentially trying to seek employment should do it. It's increased our credibility in the area and lifted the self-confidence of the station. So many stations report to us that even just going through the process of sense-checking your own station, to celebrate internally the great work you do, to then take that on to the awards, can be such a great team-building exercise and confidence-building for the team. If you don't run your own awards internally or your own recognition internally for the volunteers, I would recommend it. An annual get-together, bringing the entire team together, run your own little awards, and maybe the best of that could then helpfully steer people for those entries to then be entered into the Community Radio Awards. And then sport, this was Summer Valley a couple of years ago because they got sport, and I think they got national recognition by the Sports Journalism Association because of their entry. So lots of benefits in that sense. So how you enter, entering. We are happy to accept individual entries from generic presenter, group, organisation, that sort of thing that's involved in community broadcasting of a station, or entries from stations where they collate it together. We have both types get done really. We have some stations where they enter it as a station, they decide what they want to enter, they collate it together, they submit it, they sense check it, and then we have others where they just send the information off to their presenters and say, if you want to enter the awards, it's up to you, off you go, sort of thing. It's £5 entry. We've really tried to keep it low and accessible. I think we are now actually the cheapest awards in the sector. And actually we're bringing this back next year because I want to encourage more stations to enter Station of the Year. So we're making Station of the Year free for all stations to enter. So if you only enter one award next year, enter the Station of the Year. And then it's April through to August process. At the moment we've got 19 categories. We tweak them, we review them each year. And on this note, I will say, I was just having this conversation in the break, the Specialist Music Show we're going to tweak a little bit because the largest percentage of entries come from the Specialist Music Show, and we get feedback from our judges saying, where's the community in this entry? It sounds like they think they're on Radio 2 doing a national rock show. Is this community radio? So we're actually going to tweak the Specialist Music to say, we want to hear what it means to your community, define your community. You know, if it's a classical music show, talk about where in the community they can hear classical music, or get local classicists in, or, you know, how this bit of music was influenced by the local community. Community radio is about your community. If you've got presenters in your stations that are doing I want to be a national radio presenter, doing a national radio rock or indie show, great, absolutely. But actually, is that community radio? We talked about your listenership. Does that actually speak to your listeners? Do they care about your listeners, or is it just a platform for them in that sense? And we're sort of going to try and recognise that with the Special Music Awards. Welcome, gentlemen. For all the categories, we give as much detail as we think we can, we'd like to give. I'm happy to take feedback on this. Is what we're seeing from the awards, what the award means to us, what sort of examples, if we can, what the entry we're looking at, what it looks to enter, and then this is the judging criteria. And as far as I'm aware, we're the only sector awards that actually releases its judging criteria to say this is what the judges will be marking your entry on. And we wanted to do that. I come from a teaching background, particularly higher education, and in higher education you have to tell the students how you're going to be marking their work. And from the get-go, or certainly last year, I can't remember, I don't think we did it the first year because it was the first year, we didn't quite, we were trying to find our way. But from last year onwards, we've certainly released the marking guidelines, and a lot of stations and judges have both fed back how powerful and how great that is. On a quick note, because I get a lot of questions about the time. A lot of people say, well, why can't I have a 15 or 20 minute or a half an hour entry? We limit it to 5 minutes purely because, and Mark's going to cover this a bit, is if you can't sum up how great your show is in as short a time as possible, then maybe you need to be working a little bit more on that as well. The other reason is practicalities. this year we had, was it 370? 370 entries, and I expect multiple judges to hear every entry, even at the first stage. And I estimated it was hundreds and hundreds of hours of judging. And if we then doubled the length, you double the amount of judges I'd need, double the amount of time it took to judge. So I'd love to have a slightly longer entry, but there is a limit to how much I can push my judges. There's a few people in the room that are judges, and if I said we're going to have 15-minute entries, I can just see their heads blanching at this point. But that's not to say they're all 5 minutes. Station of the year is 15, 20 minutes? 15 minutes. Because we recognise for some of these, and I think journalism might be slightly longer, and if it's not, I might be increasing journalism, because for some of these categories they do need that slightly longer time, but for most shows it's like a demo. Actually, you know, the first 2-3 minutes is the golden stuff. So, talking of judges, we have over 50 judges. It grows year on year. We lose some judges, we gain some new judges. We're always after more judges. Our judges come from the radio industry, so from commercial radio, BBC, community, from academics, so we get a lot of academics, particularly radio academics, well, all radio academics really, and then other community media and community development people will come in and judge. I'm really keen to continue growing the judges, so if you know of people that fit in any of that category, please do let me know, or get them to contact me if they might be interested in judging. It should only be a couple of hours, and even if they want to just do one category, it's a couple of hours of judging at some point. It's all sort of blind, well, it's not blind judging, but we've got a great judging platform that the judges really rate, and it's really easy to do the judging. The hardest part is making the decisions as to what you award. I get so many judges that come back to me and go, actually, can you reopen my judging, because I've reconsidered, I want to tweak some of the numbers slightly, because I think I was a little bit too harsh, or a little bit too eager and stuff. One note on the judging. Do I put it there or do I put it there? No, here. Judging process. It's independent in the sense that the other judges don't know who the other judges are for their category. All the judging is done in silos. You're a judge, these are your categories, off you go. We tell the judges what category they're judging. We say they're allowed to promote the fact they're judging, but we ask them not to say what category they're judging. It is purely based on the numbers. So each one of those categories is currently scored out of 10. So you can get a score from 0 to 50. And how we work out who gets gold, silver, bronze and nominated is purely based on the numbers. There is no tweaking, there is no conference call of the judges to actually go, actually who do we think gets gold? It's purely based on the sort of the blind judging, in the sense that the judges don't interact with each other. There's no manipulation of any of the process at all. I don't judge, I just literally admin the thing. I assign all the judges, I move people around, I nag the, excuse my language, shit, out of the judges and say, where's my judging? I'm supposed to be releasing the nominations in 3 hours and I still need your judging to do it. And I contact other judges and say, can you do some more judging like now? So it's independent. I like to think it's robust because of that process. And it's also because, the other thing to say about independent, we're independent of the CMA, we're independent of all other organisations, we are completely siloed organisations. So we have no politics, we have no axes, we have no chips, we have no one we want to pump up or blow smoke up. We want the whole process to be independent. I know, particularly in the last year or two, we've had a lot of people throw criticism of well, if you're part of Martin's friend group and if you're in the in-crowd, this is where you get the awards and stuff. And it's absolutely not true. And actually, in some instances, I go above and beyond to make sure I get more independent judges to judge certain categories. Because I can see the scores coming in, and I go, I need more people to look at that, so that we've got fairness and balance and this sort of thing. And also, we do have judges, so we have this thing that if you've got gold, you're not allowed to enter that category the next year, and you get invited to judge that category, because if you've won gold, clearly you're good at doing that thing, so why should you then not judge that thing? And we then get some criticism to say, well, if people judge, their station shouldn't be able to enter. And no, I don't agree with that, because actually as a sector we should be sort of using our own sector to judge, because otherwise we'd only be judged by the BBC and commercial, and actually surely we don't want that. We want a balance of the people judging. But more importantly, we make sure that, you know, if you were to judge, you won't be judging your own entries. We make sure that all the rounds are set up so you don't go anywhere near your own entries. Which for some people, when we get to the round twos, because if we have lots of people in, we have a round one, and then the best from those go into round two. I get some judges that go, so I've not been asked to judge round two, does that mean my station's been nominated? I'm like, no comment at all. See you on the awards night. Two of our judges, because we've asked to feedback on this criticism that we've had, we asked two of our big judges. So Will Jackson is the Managing Director of Audio UK that run the Radio Production Awards, as well as other things. And he's really proud of our system and how we do it, because there is no discussion or external influence. He's responsible for his own marking, and he's one of the people that said he loves the fact that there's this marking criteria that he's clearly being asked to judge the entries about, and we're transparent on what that criteria is. And then Daniel Bruce, the Chief Exec of European for the Internews, and again, he's it's one of the most objective, and he's done judging. Daniel particularly has done judging, I think, for nearly all awards in the sector and other awards as well. And he's said that it's the most objective and rigorous that he's found. They're judged against a well-defined set of criteria with a common maximum score. And they work on their own expertise and assessment. And that's not to say that if I throw one entry at 5 judges, the scores are all the same. They're not, because there is an element of different judges are seeing different things from the entries. And this is why we try and have more and more judges. And the more the entry goes through the phases, you know, phase 2 and phase 1, the more judges we throw at it. So we're continually getting more viewpoints on those entries. So what's next for us? Please keep an eye out for us relaunching the awards every year, as we do early 2019. We tweak them, we go away, we get feedback from people, and then we launch them. The advice I'd give you is be collating your best bits of your audio as a team throughout the year. Judging, I get so many people that say, and I will come up flat for this, oh, can we get an extension? I will say now there will be no more extensions on the Community Radio Awards. The date we set for the submission deadline will be the date, we'll set it in stone. But I get so many people saying, oh, I forgot it was the awards, oh no, I've got to rush and do it all. Don't. As a station, you should be collecting your best bits, because if nothing, why are you not putting your best bits out every week? Why are you not clipping that best interview and using it as an audiogram on your social media and making it go viral? Why are you not clipping that bit of that interview out and using it in your news coverage? Why are you not constantly sharing your best bits of audio, collating them together and doing that? And I know you are all under-resourced, time poor and all this sort of stuff. But it's the great job of a work experienced kid, or a kid that's just coming into the studio. What a great way to learn how good radio sounds like, is to say, well, listen to some of this audio and clip out what you think the best bits are. Or your production teams, your presenting teams, make it somebody's responsibility. If worst case scenario, make it that presenter's responsibility of every week, you need to clip out the best minute or so of your own audio. And then we can use that to promote more about you at the station. And then, let's do the hands up again. Hands up if you didn't enter the awards last year. This number's changed slightly. Okay. And hands up if you did enter the awards last year. Okay. So if nothing else, because it's 50-50, please spread the word. We had 70 stations enter this year, which was something like 25% of the sector. And that number has grown, and that percentage has grown, but I want that number to continue to grow. I don't care how many entries we get, I care about how many stations are represented. I would love us to get 100 stations next year entering the Community Radio Awards, which will be something like 30-35% of the sector. And I want that number to continue to grow. There are some stations that will never enter, because it's just not their thing, but more and more stations I would love to have entering. So please do spread the word as a station and within your station about entering. Also, we're not the only awards. I challenge the community radio sector to really be disruptive to the rest of the sector and upset them by winning their awards. How many here, do we know what the ARIAs are? Who doesn't know what the ARIAs are? Okay, the ARIAs are what you might have known of the Sony Radio Awards. They're the Radio Academy's awards. They were in fact Thursday up at Leeds. They've dropped the entry price. I think it's only 30, 40, 50 quid, which I know is a lot of money, but as far as I'm aware, only one community radio station was nominated in the ARIAs. And I did my annual rant in the Facebook group and went, who entered? And nobody said they entered. Because I think a lot of people are put off by it. Use my Community Radio Awards as a springboard onto the ARIAs and onto other awards. Let's take back these awards. The ARIAs get called the BBC Awards because it's majority BBC that get nominated and win the awards, because 56-57% of the sector, commercial sector, is actually boycotting the awards. Politics is all I'd say on that one from what I understand. So let's fill that gap. I would love it if the ARIAs next year, community radio literally walk the stage and are winning award after award, because it will upset a lot of people. But let's do it. Let's show that we're not, as we have been described, the third tier of community of the industry, but actually we are playing toe-to-toe with the BBC and the commercial and producing fantastic material. Because actually that's the one thing my judges say. I get judges, like I said, from across the whole industry, and so many of them, if not all of them, always say, particularly first-time judges, they come in with these preconceptions of what community radio is, especially if they've come from commercial or the BBC, and then they email me, go, no, this is blown away, this is amazing, this show I could expect to hear on Radio 4, this show I could expect to hear on the local BBC. So we are producing and exceeding what they're doing, and we should be shouting about it and promoting it. The APAs, so I think nearly all of these are closed, but keep an eye on them, put them in your diary. The Audio Production Awards, which are the Audio UK ones, and in fact, Audio UK are really up for working with community radio and really want to hear what we've got to do. The New Yorkers, anyone here entered a New Yorker? Yeah, so it is possible. Community radio have won this in the past. Spark, Sunderland have won it, and places like this. It is expensive. It's about 150.
Oh, at least. I think it's 200.
Yeah, a couple £100. So you really need to speak to other people in the room if they've entered them and if they've won them. Richard Berry and what's her name? Who's involved in Spark?
Caroline Mitchell? No.
Caroline.
Mitchell.
Go speak to Richard Berry, go speak to Caroline Mitchell. I'm sure they'll tell you what they did and share their best practice on how they won a New Yorker. And then there's the Wickers World one, which I think is more journalism based, but they also run some grants if you've got a documentary you want to run and that sort of thing. That's us. Facebook, Twitter, on our website. We're going to have Q&A in a bit if we've got time, but I do want to pass you over to Mark Black as Blackman, who was our gold last year, and also the host, or the joint host, of these year's awards.
Thank you very much, Martin.